Jesus said it's about getting involved in a community, getting messy, getting involved in people's lives. That was how he was different. The third thing we looked at was, last night we had an opportunity to see how we've been changed, how we've been moved, and what we wanted to do with some of the things we've seen and heard. And then, wasn't Mike brilliant this afternoon? What a great guy. And just the reminder that justice isn't justice without mercy. I was talking to somebody, it's so easy to get angry and to forget that actually God calls us to love our enemies as well. So that was really great that he was able to speak on that. And so we come to this evening. What are we going to do with everything we've seen and everything we've heard? Because that is always the most difficult thing. At the end of Jesus' time with the disciples, it's called the Great Commission. If you want to turn your Bibles, Matthew 28, verse 16 to the end. It's called the Great Commission. Then the 11 disciples, they went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. Then Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. Can you imagine being disciples and being told, now go and put into practice everything I've taught you. And then Jesus just disappears. And we read actually at the beginning of Acts, the disciples are just kind of standing there, looking up into the sky, thinking, what do we do? What do we do next? And I think that's probably how some of us feel, right? Yeah? Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah? What can we do next? And that is the big question. Because actually our emotion, what we felt, is important, but unless our emotion and our passion and our compassion becomes action, then maybe we haven't done anything. And I want to just give you a few helpful, practical tips and a few things that will help you, I think, in your journey to live a justice revolution. Is that okay? So the first thing is this. It's people, not programs. Okay? It's people, not programs. Justice, as we said earlier, it's about relationship. You very rarely see Jesus transforming someone without actually having an interaction with them. Very rarely actually do we hear of Jesus preaching at people and then their lives being totally changed. But every time Jesus makes a relationship with someone, every time he connects with someone, something in them changes, something in them transforms. And if all we know how to do when we leave this place is make a relationship with somebody who needs one, then we've learned a great deal. And I was talking to Satish, and it was interesting because we were saying, well, who do you make relationships with? And you don't need to go to a government house to do that. You don't need to go to Auto Raja Centre. You don't need to go to Oasis. They're right on your doorstep. Your neighbour, you're the person who's your security guard, the kid that you see on the way to work. We start where we're at. And you might use some of those things to help you build up some of those relationships. Why do I say relationship is so important? Because time and time again I've seen what is true. I don't know how often you get stopped for somebody, somebody wants some money or they want some food. It happens to me all of the time. Especially we were in Mumbai recently, and literally every 3 or 4 minutes somebody asks you for money. And I always respond out of guilt. If I give money, I respond out of guilt because I feel like I should. And I'm not here to say that that's necessarily a bad thing. You need to decide that, whether it's a sustainable way to help somebody. My guess is it probably isn't. whether it helps them in the long term. But relationships always help people in the long term, because it's relationships that transform people. I have a friend in London, and his name's Jim, and he's from Ireland. I'm doing a British accent, but you wouldn't know anyway, would you? Think I'm from Ireland. I'm from Ireland. Is that right? Yeah, I think that is right. Could be Russian for all you know. He's definitely Irish. Jim, he's a great guy. He's one of these people, when you see him, you know, those people you see in their eyes, they tell apart their story. And you see him and you know that he's gone through so much in his life. And even the fact that he's just got scars all over his face. He grew up, he was abused almost from birth, thrown out of the house, grew up on the streets in Ireland during a really time when there was a lot of poverty in Ireland. And quite quickly took to alcohol, drugs, just as a way out, as an escape. And he would beg on the streets. And he tells the story of how he was transformed. And he wasn't transformed by somebody who gave him food. He wasn't transformed by somebody who gave him money. He wasn't transformed because somebody put him in a project. He was transformed because one day a nun, an elderly lady, decided that rather than doing something for him, she would just sit with him. And so she sat down next to him. Rather than talk at him, she asked him questions. And he said for the first time in his life, he felt human. You know, he felt like he was somebody. And for those of you, I know that, you've got to the government home today and you've seen what's going on there. And how actually often those children aren't treated like humans. For you to go there today and to sit with them and to play with them and to show them that they're human and that you're equal to them is an incredible thing. And it turned Jim's life inside out and upside down. He didn't know what to do with himself. He said he was just overwhelmed with joy that somebody had come and sat next to him and asked him some questions. What does that take of that woman's life? Not that much, but she did it. And she did it, she didn't just do it once, she did it time and time again, because it's about relationship. And he gradually began to change. And you see him now, and he's incredible. He now is doing ministry to homeless people. He'll talk to them, he'll pray with them, he'll sit with them, he'll chat with them. He's got his own house, he's off alcohol, he's off drugs, and it's just incredible. It's not been easy for him, there's at times when he's relapsed, but all because that woman decided actually to transform somebody. It's not about giving them money, it's not about taking them to a project. Transformation, justice, good news starts with what? A relationship.